Balenciagas on my feet, stay in. Oh boy, fresh. I got these pointers, neck and wrist, stay in. Oh boy, fresh. I'm always fresher than the rest, stay in. Oh boy, fresh. Since 96, I'm in this game, stay in. Oh boy, fresh. Balenciagas on my feet, stay in. Oh boy, fresh. I got these pointers, neck and wrist, stay in. Oh boy, fresh. I'm always fresher than the rest, stay in. Oh boy, fresh. Since 96, I'm in. Welcome to another episode of NoCappnAllDrip. I'm your man Bailey, aka Mr. Go Get 'em, and we back with another episode. First and foremost, hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up on the video. Like the video. Today we are doing yet another video, third installment of Living Life Poly. I do have a special guest. Fortunately, they're not live, but we are doing it via video, which makes this even better. Let me go ahead and pull her on over and introduce herself. So first and foremost, let me say welcome to the show. Welcome to NoCappnAllDrip. I'm Bailey, and you said you want to go by Vagina cakes, right?
Yes.
All right. First and foremost, introduce yourself. Tell us about you, what you do, who you are.
All right. I go by Vagina Cakes. I am a inspiring fetish activist, and I live poly.
A fetish activist.
An inspiring fetish activist. So I want to be to the point where I feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to be the fetish activist. I'm still in the process of getting to that point, but my goal is to be a fetish activist.
Okay. So how did you get into that?
I actually started with an ex-boyfriend, and he had some fetishes that he didn't feel comfortable with. And throughout my life, I've met lots of people that for some reason like to open up to me about their fetishes. I personally don't have any, but everybody feels like I'm the person to tell about theirs. So as long as it doesn't have to do with pedophilia, incest, rape, or bestiality, then I'm 100% for it, unless there's one that I find besides that I don't like. But I believe strongly to each their own.
So you have zero fetishes?
I wouldn't say I have zero. I mean, I like to be dominant and I love women, but I really wouldn't consider those just strictly fetishes.
Well, that's not a fetish. That's just what you like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those are the laws of attraction. Okay. So how did you end up in the... Okay, so there are different versions of poly. So what version of poly are you?
I don't know. Right now, so throughout my poly life, I have been different kinds of poly. I would say right now I'm more, I think of myself as like the kitchen table poly is where I'd like to be. Not quite sure if that's exactly where you were going with that question.
Well, okay, so the whole point is to always let our viewers know what is kitchen table poly.
To me, that's where all partners are present, but not on like a permanent term. I don't know how you would explain it, but that's what I kind of like about it. You're not, that you can be at the table if you're in the relationship with anybody at the table without any judgment or fear or non-acceptance.
All right, so basically you get to enjoy it fully with no restrictions.
Yeah.
All right. See? So for you guys that don't understand that, there's your easy breakdown.
And that might have a little frayed ends on it as well. It's not specific, so some people look at it differently.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest things is just bringing awareness and allowing people to see, know, and understand some of these differences, because a lot of people have no clue whatsoever.
Exactly.
All
this
right.
is very important. I agree 110%.
How long have you been in the lifestyle?
That's a tricky question. I think I realized that I was poly at a very young age. Actually, I can kind of pinpoint the age group. I want to say I was like an early teen, and I was watching Lifetime Channel's movies about infidelity, and I just couldn't wrap my brain around how if the man loved the woman, how could he not communicate that he loved somebody else? And then if the woman loves the man, why couldn't she come to terms with either letting him go or loving him and loving the other woman? A few years later, I don't know how long, there was a Facebook post. I don't know if people have seen it, but it's a lady, and she's saying, I found out my man's cheating on me, and I just want to let her know that if you love him, I love you. I don't remember the exact post. I had it saved for the longest time. And I had a very good friend of mine, and she looked at me one day and she goes, "You're poly." And I was like, "What's poly?" Like, as far as I knew, that was just wrong. And I looked into it, and I didn't even realize I'd already been living the life since I was an older teenager, and I had a boyfriend and a girlfriend. And when I was in my early 20s, I dated couples. It was just natural to me. Like, it was never, I mean, people told me it was wrong, but your version of wrong and my version of wrong are obviously two different things. All you have to do is look at my life. I strongly believe to each their own.
Exactly. Okay, so did you grow up in a family that was poly, or was it just something you just up and was like, this is what I like, this is what I'm gonna do?
Yeah, I grew up in, I don't want to say a strict religious family, but a religious family. And the reason I don't say strict is because I've met families that are a lot stricter than mine. But I mean, we were raised Christian. We went to church most Sundays. We still practice basic holidays like Easter and Christmas and stuff. Like, I don't want to say most, but a majority of people. And when I first found out that I was bi, it was kind of like the same thing about poly. I was like, oh wait, there's a name for it. So it's just kind of like my life. I've kind of just gone through my own path.
All right. So between men and women, which would you say you enjoyed the most?
Well, they don't call me Vagina Cakes for nothing, so definitely women.
All right. Well, phew, vagina cakes. That just makes me hungry.
I get that a lot. Even on my Facebook page, I have a Facebook page that goes by VJJ Cakes because I can't put vagina. I get people all the time, oh, that sounds nummy. What are you cooking in the kitchen with such vajayjays or whatever? And I get that vagina cakes sound nummy. And then the first time I Googled vagina cakes, there's actual people out there that make cakes that look like vaginas.
Yeah, passion parties have things such as that.
Oh, I did passion parties for a while too. I have a Facebook that was dedicated to passion parties.
You don't do them anymore?
No, I've thought about getting back into them, but it's just finding the time to balance everything in my life, and I haven't quite found that.
Well, for vagina cakes, I'm gonna go ahead and give a. Okay. All right. So, since you were a teenager, men, women, couples, all of the above, some of the things that I've heard so far is 9 times out of 10 people only want to live this lifestyle because they want a lot of sex or have an extremely high sex drive. What are your thoughts on that?
That is not me. I have met people that think that. Most of the people that I have been with, it's more, and let me think about how I'm going to phrase this. I've always believed that people come into your life for a reason. they're there to teach you something, and if you can connect with them, doesn't matter if it's for 2 weeks or 12 years. If you have a connection with them, sometimes it does lead to sex. Sometimes it's just more of a deeper connection mentally or just emotionally, and sometimes it's physically. My reason for being poly is because every one of those people that I have connected with in my life, I have tried to have that poly, or maybe not poly connection, but try to keep a connection with them. I have people that I've connected with that live in California and South Carolina, and it doesn't put any limits on it. If you're in a relationship with somebody that lives in one state, you're not sectioned off from being with just that one person. If that other person is amused to you or entices you or encourages you, you are still allowed or able to have that relationship with that person. And that's extremely important, that you're not limited to just one love or one connection for your whole life.
All right, so you would be safe to say, like, when you're in a relationship, do you fall in love with everyone equally, or is there a stronger connection with one person over the other sometimes?
That's hard to say. Most of the times where I've been in relationships with one person and there was another person involved, eventually while I'm in the relationship with more than one person, I get to the same point, but there's different levels of love and lust, in my opinion. So it definitely depends on the connection. It definitely depends on the person and the time and the moments and what you connect over, in my opinion.
Do you always have one man and one woman, or is it just based off of, you know, what the situation is? Do you keep one or the other, or at all times?
No, it's whoever I connect with. I do say that I usually prioritize just one man in my life, but I would never turn down to multiple women. But if I have one man in my life and there's another one that comes that I connect with, I'm not going to turn it down.
Okay. But it doesn't usually happen like that?
Trying to think back, I don't remember a whole lot of times that there was two men in my life at the same time in a relationship standpoint.
Now, when you do have a man, do you share your women with the men?
If the woman feels comfortable with that. It's all about the woman's consent. If she just wants me, if she wants to get to know him, if she wants to have a relationship with him separately, it's all up to her. I am not trying to force any woman to do anything that they do not feel comfortable with doing.
Have you been in a relationship where a man and woman and all of you knew each other and everything was...
Yes.
All right.
More than one.
Okay, quick question on that one. Have you ever experienced any jealousy?
Of course I have. I did grow up in a family where jealousy was very high strung, very much played out. You were taught that this cheating, having affections for more than one person was wrong. And as long I'm an over communicator, so as long as everybody in the situation knows about everybody and knows what's going on and can communicate and can handle my communication, we're all good. But if I find out that people are sneaking around and keeping secrets, then yes, I get jealous. And it's more of the fact that we're supposed to have that foundation, that we're going to communicate, that this is the way we're going to live our lives. If you're going to start sneaking around, then to me, that tells me that you don't want me in your guys' relationship. So just rip the Band-Aid off.
Okay. When you're in a relationship with multiple people, is there a certain way to break up with someone? Like, how do you actually break up with someone if, let's say, have you been in a situation where it's you and multiple people and you're also dating each other, but you want out with one of them? How does that work? Have you been in that situation?
I have not, but I feel like in my gut that if I was, I would be the way that I always am and just be 100% truthful and blunt. it might be a little hard because I really don't like hurting people. But if I had to, I would probably talk to the person that I think that I would hurt the most and try to explain where I am, what my standpoint is, and then I would go to the person that I wanted to have the relationship with and try to see if that was something that they would be interested in. If not, then then we all separate ways.
All right.
It's lived and loved, and we've had our connection, we had our time, we learned what we could from each other, and obviously somebody doesn't want that connection anymore.
Here's a big question, probably one of the biggest questions out there. And I love asking this question because it also sheds light in other aspects. How do you make time for multiple people? In the lives that we live, where we work, some of us have children.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much to do in life. How do you make time for more than one person? Or how do you spend time equally with someone?
It's hard, and I'm going to be truthful. I haven't really been able to balance that as well as I'd like to. I work full time. I have a main partner, nesting partner, and there's a lot of different ways people would describe him. And then I have 3 kids. I have 2 under the age of 4 and a teenager. So it is difficult, and I explain that to anybody that I have a connection with before anything gets serious, and a lot of the times it fizzles out because I can't just leave at the drop of a hat to go do whatever they want to do. And if I do find somebody and I hang out a couple times, it usually fizzles out too, because either they have kids or they have priorities, and it's really hard. It's difficult.
Yeah. So nesting partner, just to explain it, to nesting partner is someone that you are living with. So you have a male nesting partner right now?
Correct.
Married or not married?
We are common law married. We've been together long enough that in some states where we came from, it's considered common law. I don't know.
I don't think that applies in Arizona.
Yeah.
Where are you initially from?
I was born in Inglewood, Colorado.
Okay.
Trying to get back out of Arizona again.
Why?
Arizona's like a black hole to me. Like, I have a gypsy soul, and I just want to adventure and soak up culture and people and experiences. When I was in my early 20s, I was kind of like a vagabond. I was homeless all over Arizona, and then after that I went Texas, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, California, and then there might have been even a couple other places in between in there that I went to, and I was homeless, and I connected with people and learned different things. People tell me all the time, how did you not die? And I was just...
So Arizona's not truly a black hole to you. Everywhere's a black hole to you because you don't want to stay anywhere. Is that
true? But every time I leave, I always get sucked back to Arizona.
That's probably more of a good thing than a bad thing. Usually, if you have somewhere that you keep going back to, there's usually a reason. That's where you're supposed to be.
To each their own. I could see how you would think that, but I don't like the heat, and it's really hard for me that I've noticed to connect with people in Arizona compared to other places. I was born in Colorado. I could be hitchhiking down the road there and get picked up and communicate with somebody. Here, you try to hitchhike and someone's scared you're going to murder them. I mean, look at me. I'm going to get in your car and slit your throat, I guess. But
now, major cities are a little bit different. I don't know what part of Colorado. The biggest city in Colorado is Denver. I've been there. But yes, and then Arizona, you do have to look at it a little differently because no one in Arizona is really from Arizona.
Now, yeah, definitely.
So people don't know who to trust. So.
But I think it's just the day and age that we're in right now, sadly.
All right. Have you ever been out with all partners at the same time, and did people potentially look at you differently when doing so?
No, the closest thing I ever had to that is when I was younger, I went out with my cousin and her friend who is transitioning, and people were looking at us weird, and I was the first one to get up and say, there's nothing to look at here. I don't know why you find us so interesting, but we're just enjoying a dinner here at, I think we were at a wings restaurant in Maricopa.
Oh, well, you're in Maricopa. You know, that's small town.
Oh, I'm not in Maricopa now.
No, but then I'm saying then you were out in Maricopa. That small town living at its finest. That's like every time I've been to Maricopa, it's like, all right, where's Barney Fife at?
But I mean, I'm just the type of person that it doesn't bother me when people stare. I usually want to give them something to stare at or a story to tell later, because even if it's a story about me, I mean, still, life's all about little stories.
Yeah.
That's all it is. When you talk to somebody, what are you doing? You're telling them a story. It can be a story about something that happened at work, a friend from your past. It's just a bunch of little stories.
All right. So, just in doing this and going through this process, doing these interviews, seeing how many groups there are out there, how many sites there are out there, how many apps there are out there, I was actually very, 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 very surprised to find out that whether it's polygamy, whatever, there are a lot of married people, unmarried people. There are a ton of open relationships.
It's growing by month. I would say when I found out that I was poly and I knew what it was and I could describe it and live it, there was like nobody. And just mentioning it made people quiver. Now it's like we're starting to finally have a community and an acceptance and an understanding that it's not wrong to love more than one person. It's just following your heart. And I think Disney's been telling us that since the beginning, if I remember correctly.
Well, okay, so here's the crazy part, all right? And I had this conversation with the last interview that I did. Okay, biblically speaking, men literally had multiple wives. And not only did they have multiple wives, they also had what were called concubines, which today we call them side chicks. Okay? So it's nothing new. It is literal. Well, what is actually new is monogamy. One man and one woman came about less than 100 years ago, and it was as a means to be able to tax both men and women. And or what was happening is, you know, back then, men were working and the women were at home. So you technically couldn't tax the wife, whereas with doing it the way they did it, it now made it able to, you could tax the entire household. So whether she made side money, if she worked a job for a day, a week, a month, they figured out a way to get that money out of them. So it's kind of funny to hear you say that we're getting to what we're naturally should be, which is what Disney has been telling us for the longest, which is love whoever you want to love, right? What would your message be to people that, I mean, at the end of the day, they turn their nose up to what they call this or what they think the lifestyle is?
Even if I told them what was in my heart, which is strongly to each their own, we're not trying to put this on you, it wouldn't matter. Like, they're dead set in their ways, and it's not about convincing them that it's okay or that they need to accept it. As long as we accept the fact that it's not the way for them to live, that's all we can do.
True. And then the crazy part about it is, I mean, take every person that's ever been in any relationship. I mean, you can look all over TikTok, Instagram, and everywhere else. How many women are complaining about being cheated on?
Oh, that's been since I was a kid. That's one of the reasons that I don't understand why poly anything isn't more acceptable. I mean, yes, I can understand you being raised to think that you need to be in a one-on-one relationship, but you don't own that person. Never. Not with a documented piece of paper. As long as they have a brain, you don't own somebody. And that's what bothers me. But then it goes back to the cheater. Like, if you are in the circumstance where you feel like you could cheat, like my nesting partner wasn't poly before we got together, and I always told him, I was like, I don't care if you're at work or at McDonald's and you have the chance, communicate with me. It takes 5 seconds to send a text. Like, it's a choice.
Hey, I want some pussy.
Yeah.
It ain't yours
like,
today.
If she's good looking and she's gonna give it to you, just wrap it up. Like, literally, like, that would save, I feel like it would save a lot of relationships, and it would save a lot of drama. Maybe there wouldn't be so much sneaking around. I mean, I understand people are scared of hurting the person that they're with, but if you're scared of hurting that person, you're gonna make a choice to cheat on them without telling them. Either way, you're gonna hurt them. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
So as a man, coming from a man who has lived monogamous, as much as women say, hey, just tell me the truth, I think as a man and living in this world...
It scares you. You think it's a trap?
No.
Okay.
It does. There's no fear associated with it whatsoever. What it is women 9 times out of 10 say, hey, just tell me the truth. But usually in saying tell me the truth, it's to disqualify you as opposed to qualifying you. Because the moment you tell her the truth, the moment you tell her you're seeing a different chick, the moment you tell her, keyword, trap, she's looking to figure out if you're going to tell her about your infidelities or the fact that you're looking at other women so they can leave you, because the way that we raise and the way that we are raised is you're everything nice, sugar and spice. The women of the world today, for the most part, as you know, Cardi B said it best, they got that wet ass pussy, and every woman thinks that her vagina is like the best vagina in the world, and no man should ever cheat on her or want other vagina because she has the best, wettest vagina in the world. So
I've met women like that.
It hurts their feelings to know or to find out that
some women,
yes, that another woman's vagina could satisfy her man, and she has nothing to do with that. And a lot of women are in competition with each other.
Yes, sadly.
And
we should be encouraging each other and not tearing each other down or competing with each other.
Encouraging each other, working together. Like, I've had this conversation so many times with so many different women. Okay, so you take a woman and she'll have, okay, you take a man and this man has 3 baby mamas. Okay? He's got kids with all these different women. Those women, as long as he was with them, hated the other woman. But then the moment that the relationship is over, all 3 of them are best friends.
Are talking crap about him.
Talking crap about him, doing all of this, when it's like, you do realize
that's
that
not
the
everyone.
same way y'all are friends now.
New relationships, that's not always the case, and that's why it's being normalized to support each other and not be against each other.
True, but let's speak on what we see in modern time, because unfortunately poly, you know what, I would have to actually do a poll on that to find out which is happening more. Do we have more poly relationships than monogamous relationships?
Mm-mm.
Because
I still think monogamy rules.
You know what, I really don't, and the only reason that I say that is, think about how many...
It depends. Are you doing it by a national state or by Arizona?
No. So I'm thinking about nationally, right? And then this is the thing: the relationships that are poly, but the other person doesn't realize it's actually poly. Because you got to remember, there's a lot of happy women. There's a lot of happy women out there right now because
they got their blinders on.
They don't know Because there's a lot of, I mean, I've dated women too that are just like, you can do it, just don't tell me about it, or don't let me find out, or don't bring it home. And it's like, well, why can't I bring her home? I'd rather bring her home. We can both have some fun.
Well, that's only if she's consensual. Like, but your other significant other isn't. So you have to figure out other means. Like, hopefully she has a place. If she doesn't, maybe a hotel. I mean, hotels get a lot of business. You just have to pay for it for the whole night.
You know what? Since I was a kid, I've always said there's a reason they call it a hotel.
Hotel.
Because hoes don't tell.
I mean, the chick that you're taking to the hotel, that's up to her and her standards and what she calls herself. So that's
true. Yeah, I mean,
that's a whole other story. But yes, I can understand. I have met men specifically that say they're in a poly relationship, and then they tell me, "Oh, I'm poly, but my girlfriend doesn't know." I actually met a guy in South Carolina when I lived up there like that. They say, "Well, it's not nice for you to not tell her. We can be friends, but if she ever reaches out to me, I'm going to be 100% truthful with her." I don't think women should be lied to. Period.
I mean, no one technically should be lied to. But again, there's a lot of relationships that are in absolute bliss because the other person doesn't know. And I think that some people, like, overstepping the boundary. I've watched women, whether it's friends or go out of their way to basically try to ruin that relationship where he had permission to go out, she just didn't want to know. And it's like, unfortunately, you just let her know what she didn't want to know in the first place. Because
that's crossing a boundary.
Going back to like, there's a lot of women that they don't want to know, and they're in happy relationships, happy marriages, and
that's how a lot of marriages last.
Yeah,
it's because we just don't want to know, or they're doing their own thing on the side.
All men cheat, and I say the term cheat lightly because men and women aren't the same. Okay, sex. Would you say that sex comes to you easily?
It used to. Now that I'm getting older, no.
Correct. Now, as a man, have you ever made it easy for a man to have sex with you?
No.
Correct. Do you know any women that do?
Yes.
You know women that make it easy for men to have sex with them?
Oh, yeah. I've met plenty of easy women that'll just drop their drawers after a couple of drinks and tell them before they even meet up, if you take me to a restaurant, take me back to your place.
Where are those at?
Those are the ones I try not to be with. I mean, to each their own. If that's
hey guys, they are out there. No, there's a couple of them, but that is definitely the minority. It's very hard for a man to have sex, which is why men usually, when it comes to the cheating thing, it's like, that's not a man cheating. What comes easy to us...
Well, now that you explain it that way, no, it has not always been easy for me to have sex. If I was attracted to a guy and I wanted to be with them, even if it was a one-night stand, which I'm not for, and very few times have I been for that, and if I wanted to date a guy, a lot of times I've been turned down.
You've had men turn you down.
I have had men turn me down.
Okay.
More than once.
That's not the typical. That's actually.
I could give some names of some guys, but I'm not gonna drop names like that.
You're actually the first woman to ever tell me that.
Well, I'm being truthful.
No. I know you're being truthful. Honestly, I made a post on my Facebook just 2, maybe 3 weeks ago where I turned a chick down, but it was also for other reasons. But I've had women get mad at me quite often because, if I don't feel it, I'm just not gonna just sleep with you.
I'm the same way. If I don't feel it, I'm not gonna have sex with you.
True, but
I've also been. I have to have that connection. Some sort of connection that's not just sexual.
What I say it comes easy to you If there were 100 men outside of your door right now, and you opened your door and said, "I want to have sex," how many of those 100 men do you think would easily jump on it?
Well, if there was 100 men outside my door, they're already expecting it or wanting it. If I'm walking out into a public and say, "Hey, I want to have sex," I bet you a lot of those guys are going to turn around.
Okay, so we're at the Arizona Fairgrounds. We're at the Arizona Fairgrounds.
The whole hairy bald dude in the back is going to be like, yeah.
So that's just it. That's it. And then if we reverse it, you could take even the hottest guy in the world and put him in the middle of the fairgrounds and let it be a majority of women there, and he goes, "Hey, I want to have sex." You know, it's going to be a whole totally
not gonna
different.
Choose me.
They're well, no, he's saying, "Hey, I want to have sex." Out of those 100 women, maybe 3 or 4 would be like, "I'm down," but they're still going to be like, "But you got to at least take me out or get to know me." Or the new word today is we have to vibe.
Vibe. We gotta vibe.
We gotta vibe.
We gotta connect.
So that's what we mean when saying it's easy. Whereas something that comes easy to you for you not to do it is what we call loyalty, which is why men treat it as that. Whereas, like, what comes easy to a man? Well, if you have a true man, he's a natural provider.
Are you a monogamous or are you poly?
I'm a man that dates women, and I make it very clear that if I want to see someone else, I'm going to see someone else. And it doesn't change how I feel about you. Because if I'm truly with you and I love you, I've always told every single chick, before I basically cheat on you, I'll talk you into having a threesome. And they're usually like,
"I'm gonna offer you the dish before I eat it myself."
Right? And I love to say it that way because I like to see what the reaction is gonna be more than anything. And there's a couple of reasons for that.
You can read a lot in the reaction, not
yes,
the words.
You read a lot.
Read the words.
So
you have to
I'm gonna tell on myself here, but first and foremost, if I say that and she says no, but I read body language very well, it's gonna tell me whether it's an actual no or if it's like you thought about it and it's like, ooh, I might actually be able to chance to fulfill a fantasy. 2,
How many girls have actually been like, "I don't care, do you boo boo, as long as you are happy, I'm happy"?
Only a handful, like very
They're
few.
few and far between.
Very few, very, 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 very few, right? But then what I also look at is whether or not there's that cognitive thought process that happens, because what women don't realize is, cool, I could say I'm gonna talk you into a threesome. But it's not just talking you into a threesome. I gotta talk this other chick into it too. And this other chick has to be into you, and you have to be into her. So I have a whole lot of work to do. So even, it doesn't matter what I actually say. You also need to understand, I'm about to work my fucking ass off. And 9 times out of 10, it's not worth the work. So I am also always looking to see if she's just responding to respond, or if she's actually listening to what I'm saying and is actually thinking about what is being said. Because let's just be real, me going out on a random night with the homies or whatever and then just running up on a chick and she wants to fuck, cool, that's just it, she wants to fuck me. Let me tell her, but I got a woman at home, so if it's gonna happen, it's gonna be a threesome. 9 times out of 10, that one's gonna be like, her pussy just dried up. She went from soaking wet to
That's a fact. A lot of girls are like, "Wait, you're gonna bring another girl into this? Like, am I sure I'm not gonna walk through that door and she's gonna catfight me? Or are you just
I'm not
trying
enough
to get me into bed and cheat on your girlfriend?" Like, those are the 2 thoughts that went through my head.
Yeah,
like we're gonna show up at your apartment or your house, and you don't have a girlfriend, and you're just trying to get me to sleep with this other girl. Why? Or I'm going to show up and this girl's going to be clocking me in the face as soon as I walk through the door.
Exactly. So there's the thought process, the fact like you've thought that process through, like this is potentially what could happen. Like that's where I like to know, me personally, I like to know that the person that I'm dealing with at least has the thought process to think through that, because for me,
through the scenarios.
yeah, me personally in my life, I run businesses, I have children. Like, I always want to know that the woman that I'm with can have a rational thought process when I'm not present.
Well,
So
that's
I'm
smart.
also,
A woman with brains is always good.
yep, I'm always prejudging on things like that when I'm looking for someone long term. But every time I've done this, so are you poly? I've been in a relationship with my girl, had a girlfriend, so I had two. I've been engaged, so I've been like strictly monogamous.
So if you got married, you wouldn't see anybody else? Or would it depend on the relationship?
So the person that I am and the man that I've become, and I'm a very truthful, honest, and blunt person. Whoever I end up with will know and understand who I am, where I stand, in the way that I do things. Some would call, I guess most would say, if anything, it's polygamy. I mean, I was raised very much so. My mother even told me, you can do whatever you want to till you're married. Well, here I am. I'll be 43 next month, and I'm not married. I do take marriage to be a little bit different, but if the woman that I marry is on the same page that I'm on and understands that me and the boys went out of town, and then there was a chick that was like,
there's a rule, isn't it, called like the 500-mile rule or something like that? That sometimes people who are in jail or people who serve across seas, they practice that as well.
Yeah, so it's like it's just a situation where just understand, like, you're not the only woman. Like,
there's thousands of women, 1,000 beautiful women.
Correct. There's far more beautiful women
than there are men.
Yep. I give advice. I give a lot of dating advice, and this woman she was 50 something years old. She had been married to her husband for 20 years. He cheated on her once. She left him, and she is having a hard time finding a suitable partner. And I was like, you had your suitable partner. He stuck his dick into one woman one time, and you left him for that? Like, he had no feelings for her.
That's some people's standards, and I believe strongly to each their own. Like, you know what, she has the right to do that. Now, she made a choice, and she's dealing with the consequences. He made a choice, and now he's dealing with the consequences.
Well, technically, no. He's already remarried. She's not. She can't find someone, and my advice to her was just that. Good men are hard to come by. And the fact that he slept with someone one time, and it's very telling. He didn't marry the woman he cheated on you with. He found a whole nother woman, got into a whole nother relationship, and he married her. And here you are out here dating and finding out that men just want to fuck you. They don't want to marry you. Like, unfortunately, you're way past your prime. So, yeah.
I'm kind of like,
her husband, she's now trying to find a man. He is already remarried. Now she's like, maybe I had the best man that I was possibly going to get, because either I'm too old, and they're telling me I'm too old, or they just want to have sex. And I told her, I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. At 52, you're still attractive, which works on your behalf. You're not going to deal with a younger dude because you're looking for stability. Your husband made great money, paid all the bills, did all this. Now you're having to work, which you don't want to do. And you got it's either a younger dude, you probably got a ton of younger dudes hitting, and she's like, yep, it's a bunch of young men. I'm like, yeah, your recreational use, your practice. All young dudes want to fuck the old chick. And then guess what?
They need that notch in their belt. They need that education.
Yeah, and all older men want and can easily get younger women, because as men become older, we become more financially stable and set, and let's say I've spent my life building a business or becoming a millionaire or getting to six-figure salaries and all this stuff, guess what? I can go to a club, pick up a 26-year-old. She's going to see stability. And I have no children. It's easy to put a baby in her, and she can actually have one. You can't. It's like, unfortunately, you are a declining asset. You are depreciating at a crazy rate. I know the world tells you fine as wine.
You off the Band-Aid for her, didn't you?
Yeah,
but no fluff on that.
I had to be honest with her. It's like...
But it's possible. I know an older lady, her husband cheated on her with her daughter-in-law, and she's almost 60, and she's found 2 other partners since she separated with her first husband.
But that's...
Both not younger than her. I'm not like huge age gap, like cougar status, but I mean, it's possible. It's just
no. It is definitely possible, right? But is it probable?
Depending on the person, I guess. I don't know what she looks like. I don't know her lifestyle.
Right.
But
depending on the person, depending on the lifestyle,
the mindset.
Yep. And then that's another thing, the mindset. You want someone that's going to come in and basically leave off where your husband was at. 2, when you've been married for 30 freaking years, guess what you don't want to do?
You had a foundation.
Yep. You don't want to sleep around. You have 30-year-old morals. You have morals of you've been with the same dude for the last 30 years, so you don't want to have sex. You don't want to go out on a bunch of dates. And you want this dude to wine you and dine you. And it's like, times have changed. What you expect out of a man, you're not about to get. And it's hard for her to understand that. By the time she does, it's like, you might figure it out about 70. You better go hit up a nursing home.
Time to start your own TikTok or something to make that money.
So, it's crazy. The world we live in.
Yes, you could say that.
But, it's also fun because I think if more people actually sat back and paid attention and enjoyed life more, they would see that it's not as weird and wild, and everybody would stop running around nonstop thinking that everybody's gonna hurt me. It's just
I was like, what is up with that sound?
It's not like that. People are walking around every day, literally like, oh my God, my life's coming to an end. No one wants to do this. No one wants to do this. Like, okay, not everybody needs to actually like feed into the BS. Enjoy life, have fun, be you. Take what you can get. You can't control the uncontrollables.
Live your life, boo-boo. You only live once. I hate the saying YOLO, but it's so true. If you didn't stress, like, I have always been one of those people that people say, you're so OCD, you're so controlling, blah, blah, blah. And you wouldn't think that by, like, talking with me a lot of the time. But I am. Like, I'm so strenuous on detail and making sure that everything works out perfectly, that I've wasted and hurt my body and my heart with so much stress. And you're right, like, we just need to calm down and sit back. But there's some things I feel like we do need to fight for. Like, there's so many things in the world that are going astray that if our kids are going to have to deal with. And it scares me sometimes because there's not enough people out there fighting right now.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother can.
That's a whole nother conversation.
I'm throwing my computer thinking about it.
There's so much that I can say to that, that I've seen and have been going through and have been hearing. And
I think a lot of people would learn a lot if they could just live by the saying, to each their own.
How about, so I'm positive I'm much older than you are. Okay.
We won't get the age, but
when I grew up, our neighbors were just as much my parents as my parents. Like,
I'd love if people did that more.
If something happened, my neighbors had permission to take off their belt, whoop my ass, and escort me home if my mom or dad wasn't there, or take me to my grandmother's house, or whatever the situation was. And we all knew who they are. Like when I go back to Los Angeles, I go see the families. Yes, the Hudnalls. Oh my God. There's just so many people on that block that I can go knock on their door and they still live there, that I grew up around and know, and they know me, and that's just not the case anymore.
There's no communities that are truly family anymore, and it's sad, and it's because of so many things like rent prices going up. People can't stay, and people can't save up enough money to buy a house in a neighborhood, and then they lose their jobs. So it's hard to keep those communities and those families. Like it warms my heart to hear that community is still there for the majority part, that you can go back to that. When I think about my street back in Colorado where I grew up on Decatur Street in Inglewood, I don't think anybody lives there anymore. There might be one family that still lives there.
Well, see, this is the crazy part. They're all old as dirt. So if I'm in my 40s, they're 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? And for the most part, their kids are not there. So once they pass, that neighborhood is gone. But the neighborhood, the family structure, what we had in the 80s and the 90s is already wiped out. These new age people, like, they want to be in everyone's business, but they want to be in everyone's social media business. They don't want to be in like the real life. They don't want to handle what really.
No, they don't want to be. They don't want to be in your life to the point where they are like supportive. They want to be in your life like that Shania Twain song, "Whose boots has your or whose bed have your boots been under?" They want to know all your dirty details.
Yep, they don't care about.
Life.
They're literally ready to shoot you and hang you for everything that you do. That doesn't align with them. And that's the other thing, is people can't have different opinions. If you have a different opinion, you're the most hated person in the world, and you're not shit.
Especially if you voice it. I mean, back when I was a kid, you didn't speak about your other opinions. You still were friends with somebody who voted with somebody else.
Yep.
Like, it didn't matter. If you were friends, you were friends.
They ruined it when they gave everybody a participation trophy. Everybody gets a trophy. You ruined
now
it.
It's if you believe in one thing. You, for example, my daughter, one of her friends at school is pansexual, and she was attacked at school today. Somebody was telling her, "You guys are going to go to hell for supporting somebody who's pansexual." And I told my daughter, I said, "You're not going to go to hell."
But hold on. Now, when it comes to kids, guess what? That's always been the case. When we were kids, you couldn't even utter the word gay.
No.
There's all kinds of things.
I didn't even know what bisexual was. I didn't even know what I was.
Kids are
16.
always going to be. Kids are the most honest people in the world. Half the time, the stuff they're saying, they don't realize what they're saying. And it's usually something that is reverberated off of their parents.
Yes.
But they don't know what they're talking about, so they're just being what I call stupid honest. They don't know what they're talking about, but they're being as honest as they possibly can be because they don't know. But that goes back.
I can vouch to doing that as a kid. My mom used to complain about how people would sag their pants. I went to school the next day and I pulled a kid's pants down that was sagging. So I can see that as well. But I mean, there's just so much negativity sometimes that it's just. Sorry, we're getting off topic again. I'm so passionate about so many different subjects. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Well, vagina cakes. I love it.
Well, you can add me on Instagram. I have a TikTok. I have my Facebook page. Like, you could tag it in the video. That would help.
I will. So when I edit this video and do everything, I'll send to you the link so you can also post it. And we'll probably end up.
Any other questions for me? Are we about done?
I was gonna say, do you have anything that you want to ask or you want to tell the people?
What made you want to start doing these podcasts?
So I've been doing podcasts for like the last 3 to 4 years. We initially there was 3 of us, and we would always do interviews. So I've interviewed strippers, like basketball coaches, trainers, like everything. My thing has always been I want to just interview all people of all walks of life, right? Right now, I would love to find someone that has an OnlyFans. I would also love to find like an actual escort.
What about, I might know somebody who she trains people for OnlyFans.
I will gladly take that. It's everything. I would love to have a anything and everything under the sun. I plan on doing an interview for. If someone plans on changing their gender and going through that entire process, I want to talk to them. I'm just gonna start doing everything and just letting the channel grow the way it grows, and doing interviews of anything and everybody.
Kind of like that, I don't know if you've ever watched it, but they have this thing called Strange Love. They're little video clips that you can watch sometimes on Instagram or Facebook, but they do like all kinds of things. Like they found a mom that was an OnlyFans. She's not allowed to go to any of her kids' like soccer games or football games or anything like that. They found a couple that they were both transgender, and they both got together and they ended up having a kid together. Like they cover everything as well, but it's a bit different. Like they follow them through their life and record them instead of doing like a one-on-one like this.
Yeah, see, I usually prefer to have people where we can do it in person. But a lot of people get so scared of having a camera in their face. So I've actually started doing it this way.
It wasn't that. It was just that I didn't have a ride to you, or I would do that. Maybe next time. I'll interview too.
No problem. Like I understand situations like that. That's a whole totally different situation, right? But yeah, a lot of people get scared of being interviewed.
They're shy. Yeah.
They're that, or they'll want to do it, and then they're like, but I don't know what people are gonna. They're so scared of what people will think about them. So this just happened to be.
People are gonna give me backlash for this, and I'm gonna have to let it roll off because I believe in what I believe, and I'm not trying to make anybody change their beliefs. I'm just talking from my heart.
Yep, and live your life the way you want to. So I appreciate you taking the time to actually do this and give your opinion and tell us how you live your life. And
That's strictly what it is my opinion, and I'm not trying to put it on anybody.
Somebody else may see this and be like, I actually feel the exact same way she does. And in situations like that, that's where I go. Enjoy your life and live your life the best way that you possibly can, because no one else matters. You were born by yourself. You're going to die by yourself. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Vagina Cakes. I will make sure to get all of her social media handles. They will be down in the description. If you have any comments, by all means, go ahead and make sure that you leave the comments down below. If you have questions,
positive.
Yep, we always keep it positive. If you have questions, you can either go directly to her or me. You guys know all of my information is down below, and we can go from there. I definitely want to say thanks for tuning in to another episode of NoCappnAllDrip. I'm your man Bailey, aka Mr. Go Get 'Em.
Go get 'em.
And y'all already know. And that is it.